Okay, it's winter time and we're getting this 300 under control here. Made a lot of different changes to it. Some of you will ask questions about this later on. 4-micron filter in here with a water separator at the bottom. Yeah, that was a $14 for that whole bloody thing, but guys, on Amazon. I had to change it to a 1/4-inch nipples from 3/8, but other than that, vertical bracket coming down, welded right behind the reverse shifter, underneath that shifter, and that's it. I mean, it bolted right up there. Anyway, there's that. That had to cut down on the vibration too, the way I've got it mounted, and that's gonna filter out any crap that I have in my tank for sure, which has been a problem for these bikes. I mean, I see a lot of posts and comments out here, guys. #1 killer to, I've been riding motorcycles since the 60s, and #1 killer of bikes and biggest problem issue for bikes is gas can gas, and I'll do a whole video on that someday that'll cover that one. I'm really anal about the fuel I put in these rigs. I'll even show you how to separate the ethanol out of that, and so on in some other videos. But today we're working on the front differential lock on the Arctic Cat 300 4x4. Oh boy. Well, as some of you know, there is you've got your 2-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive, and your 4 lock. All right. Right off the bat, some of you guys are going to say, wait a second, that isn't the right lever. You're right. I've already started on this a little bit, and then I decided, well, you know what, I'm going to go and make a video on this because I appreciate everybody's videos that are out there. Those videos didn't solve the problem that I was having with this. So here's what the problem is. The stroke that we had out here was almost 3.5 inches on their original lever. The stroke on this cable is 2 inches. So you could use 2 of the 3 features in this locking mechanism, and I really think that that's a manufacturing engineering oops, or it was extremely intentional to keep people from getting jacked up. That 4x4 lock is only for temporary use, not for full go like the other 4-wheel drive is. Sorry about the sniffing and stuff, guys. I'm out here in the garage and it's a little cold today in January. So, this is what I've done. First thing I did is up here on the bracket where the cable mounts, I cut a little relief in here with a skinny wheel. I'll fill it back in with weld a little bit later on, just to change the angle of this to force the lever over, or the linkage over to where I need it. Originally it was way out here. So here's 4-wheel drive. If we move it closer to the pivot point, and I have a lot more adjustment here, we can adjust that down. Kind of shooting for that black dot right there. So if I bring it up into 4-wheel drive, easy enough, that can be achieved by adjusting your linkage. And then into 2-wheel drive, easy enough to adjust your linkage. So that's kind of where I'm going to set my pin. And I got a pin that I'm going to drill through this and place in here a little bit later on. I'm just kind of getting this angle set up here to where we don't have any adverse twisting and turning here. We want this to operate pretty smoothly so we don't get things all jacked up in there and cause wear problems and so on and so forth. And the other thing is we're hitting down here at the very bottom. I'm going to have to grind that out between those 2 marks at the bottom so we don't rub on the axle down here. All right, so that's what I've got so far. There's so many little things I want to do to this, but it's just so hard to get into the places that we need to get into. I'd love to do a suspension lift and a bunch of other things like that. And before I got this thing, somebody half-ass welded these brackets in here, and it's center board for, I'm assuming, a snow plow or some attachment on the front. But they left holes in the welds. I don't know if you can see that or not down there. Let's see if I can get to it. There's literally a hole in the weld there Well, if I get in the creek or something with that, and I don't want the frame filling up full of water, I got to seal that up. Just little things. So anyway, we'll get off to the next little part here and start working on this bracket and getting this thing under control and get a pin set in it. And the best thing to do is just take the fairing off and pull a wheel and just get right in here down and dirty and get with the program. All right, so let's go and do some work on this bad boy. Okay, so this is kind of what we ended up with. The mark right here is where the cable is going to connect. And that's kind of what we came up with. Instead of cutting it off shorter, I left this here to where I can actually get a finger in there and lift this and work with a little bit without the cable on it, without getting my finger amputated. So anyway, there's what we got so far. So I'm going to go ahead and punch this out and get ready to put our pin in here. 3/32 hole for the cotter key. This is going to be our pin that holds our linkage. Okay, nice and clean. Pretty sweet. Sure enough. We'll go clean this up a little bit, cut us a chunk off. Okay, we're going to use a step bit for this part. We're going to drill a hole for the pin to go through. Hopefully this goes as planned. Back here. I'm not sure exactly what step it is that needs to be. It's that one right there. Okay, so that's done. I'm going to take this back out here to the vise and work on the next part of this thing. Okay, so I've overshot this intentionally so we can get it adjusted and all set up just right on the linkage and stuff, so we don't have to make any major adjustments on it once we get in there. Get it adjusted, set it, mark it, now weld it and grind it back flush. Okay, so it's in place, nothing's welded, nothing's bolted down, it's just there. Now, this is 4-wheel drive. This is 2-wheel drive. So we get 2, 4, and then 4 lock. Just like that. Now, we still have some adjustment left. So I'm only actually miscalculated a little bit. We're only 1.84 stroke. I could have changed that just by the position of this location. And moving closer to the cam, you know, I mean, I've got the camera in one hand here and the cable in the other. So it's not, you know, it's not, uh-oh, she came apart. But it's not hard to pull, so I haven't really lost a whole bunch of mechanical advantage. What I do like about it, though, is I've lost this huge range of this big old dorky thing out here banging you in the knee. I lost quite a bit of space on that, so I didn't have to come so far out to be in 2-wheel drive, which is sweet. So I'm going to go ahead. I have to find me another washer, so I've got cotter pin, washer, then linkage, then washer, then I want to put the lever on. That way we've got a washer on both sides of the linkage, because it's kind of a, I don't want to say it's pinched or anything like that. It's just, I found that with a double washer in there like that, you have a lot less wear. So that's my next part here, and then we'll get her all spot welded together and hooked up and see how it looks real. Sweet. So I went with a little nylon washer in the back. Hopefully that does what it needs to do. And it cleaned up pretty good. We'll get her all taken care of here. Work on the powder coat and all that stuff after the fact. Okay, so it's installed here. I'm going to adjust it to where this is up here just a little bit farther. Probably should just do that right now so it's just done. But little adjustment here. That way it's not rubbing on the axle. We don't want it rubbing on the axle because this down here weighs kind of a goofy setup. I did not engineer this. Had nothing to do with this on the engineering side for sure. So don't blame me. So there's two-wheel drive. There's four-wheel drive and four lock. And there's probably going to be some fine-tuning on this for sure to get it just right. And still keep it off the axle there. I could grind it out more, but I don't really want to weaken it a whole lot. It's not super critical right there. I mean, this isn't going to... there's probably 30 thousandths play in there. If you got that part of your axle wobbling around, you're in trouble anyway. So there's what she looks like. She's clear of everything. I mean, honestly, I'm up top here with the rod straight. Maybe, oh, I don't know, 20, maybe 10 or 12 pounds going down. I think the hardest thing is coming out of lock in a 4x4 right there is probably maybe 15 or 20 pounds, and then this up here is probably 5. Going in is super easy. So there you go. And you know, so now, you know, my stroke is pretty, get here where I can be, you know, so the stroke starts there. And we're almost 2 inches on the stroke. So I don't have to change anything. I don't have to cut any part of the tube off or worry about this thing flopping in the wind anymore. You know, I know some of you guys have pulled this off. That's great. But I didn't want this to change. I don't want to sacrifice any stability of any, you know, controls. So I wanted to keep this the way that it's supposed to be. So there, just like that. So now all I got to do is tidy up my weld on that just a little bit more. This weld up top here, and get her cleaned up and get her painted, and then install it. So we're going to go ahead and do that, and we'll end up with a nice powder coated part that we can put on there. And I think I'm actually going to do it in white so I can see it underneath there. In case something goes sideways someplace, you have to get underneath there. I did leave myself a finger, you know, a depression on this thing, just in case the cable breaks or anything goes sideways. I've always got this to where I can, you know, work with it here. So probably end up going with a white on a powder coat. I don't know, maybe black. We'll just have to see. And we'll kind of show you what the end product's going to look like when it's all done. Okay, so we're just kind of clean this up a little bit here. This may not seem too crazy, but this is muriatic acid here. Yeah, it's just some stuff I've got laying around. This will get the rust and crud off of it, sure. You see all the crap that's on there right there. I mean, this will take it right off. And this isn't something you have to do. This is just me being Mr. Perfectionist with some things. So finish cleaning this up and get on with the powder coating. Okay, so we got the powder coat on. We're running her through the convection oven here. She's getting purdied up in there. Turn the flash on. Can we do that? No. Anyhow, that's what's going on there. They got a mess. This wintertime stuff. all kinds of crap going on. You know how that goes. Making some 12 gauge slugs and 20 gauge slugs. Just so many projects going on, you know. Trying to find time to focus on one long enough to get anything accomplished is a whole nother rat race. We're getting there. A couple more minutes on this and we'll pull it out. Let her cool off. And then put her into place and let her roll. Alrighty. Now I decided to go with a black with a white tip. I think that's probably the best way to go. I know it's ugly. Don't critique me. Don't beat me up too bad on that. This was an acetone wet shake. This is about sealing it up. It ain't about being pretty. I kind of like that little white thing on the end there. That'll give me a quick look under there and see where it's at if something goes sideways. All right. Yeah. Let's see about putting it together. Another thing I'd like to share with you guys is this copper anti-seize. I know it says thread lubrication on here. A lot of guys use this for lug nuts and stuff, which is kind of crazy, but this has, you know, I think it's 135 micron copper in it. And it's great. Don't get it on anything you don't want it not to be on, because it will stay on there. Especially fabrics and such. But I'm gonna fill the whole splined hole and the threaded holes. Anything that can get hung up. I love using this stuff for places like that that isn't constantly in motion. Someday I want to revisit this. I don't want to bust a bolt off or, you know, end up in a situation there. So definitely going to put this on there. Hopefully I'll never have to revisit this spot again. But if I ever do, I know for a fact from using this kind of stuff. And it's high temp too. This is good stuff. A bottle of this will last you for literally forever. So I'm gonna get her put on here. Okay, so here it is. Final's done. It's all hooked up in place. Well, let's see what we got. I like the white indicator on it. So there's your lock. There's your 4-wheel drive. And here's your 2-wheel drive. It's about that simple. So now, gotta come up here. Gotta throw a weld in that hole up there. Get that sealed back up. Got a couple welds. I don't know what they were doing down here. I get it. I get it. Somebody just did it. But talk about rigged. Stuff like that makes me crazy, but I gotta get in there and get that hole filled up. It won't be too bad. Get that put away. Got a new clutch going in this bad boy. Both the primary and secondary, the centrifugal and the compression for the shifting. Got wireless remote winch stuff. Got me a new brake lever, new choke and light switch lever. A couple more things I need to do there. Gonna put a different addition exhaust system on here. Try to quiet this thing down a little bit more. That's just going to be the winter project. And gonna put a fan on the oil cooler, and then we're gonna build some kind of protection in front of it, so the air will have to draft up and through. And you know, I watch a lot of the videos of these guys riding these things, and they get them in the mud, and they do all kinds of stuff with it. You know, that's not what we're doing out here. We might have a few water crossings that are, you know, maybe knee deep in solid rock, no crystal clear water. The rest of it is literally through the rainforest. And the biggest enemy we have here is, you know, the bloody sticks. When they log stuff, you know, they reach out and they grab a log or a tree, they cut it down, they lay the thing down sideways. So I know some of you guys seen logging videos. They'll grab that, they'll cut it at the bottom with a big saw on that machine. They'll lay it down, and then they'll run it through the processor, this CTR, and it just literally peels all the branches off of it. Well, it just leaves the branches just laying there. Ouch. Dropped my tree. So it just leaves the branches laying there, and I mean, some of these branches are, big. Those aren't the big ones. I mean, those will just stop you. It's some little ones that are about the size of a quarter. They'll come up through them holes down there in the bottom. I mean, and come right up through your seat, break the seat right off the bike, and jack you right up at 2 or 3 miles an hour. It's unbelievable. And that's one of the reasons we went with, these things here. These are literally made out of a Costco fold-up table. It was the only place we could find the material that wasn't going to bust the budget. And, I mean, they protect the joints up front. All the boots and stuff. I mean, it protects it pretty good as long as you're going straight for the most part. The tire is going to cover a lot of that. Really don't need a lot of ground clearance. Most of the trails here are pretty wide, but we're going to cover a few things that, there's 1,000 little things that just constantly go sideways with these bikes. You guys know that. Well, I mean, I call them bikes. They're not really bikes or quads, but bikes are, something you get on a ride. So I've been doing that since the early 60s. Yeah, we're old. I've been doing this for a long time. I can remember the first three-wheeler coming out back in the 70s. So, going to try to tidy up to a little bit of the rust in some spots here. I wish I could just strip this thing all the way down and just have somebody chemically dip the frame and powder coat the whole thing, but man, what a hassle. Not going to happen. But these are good solid bikes, man. I'm telling you, I got a guy right down the street from me has a 250. He doesn't know what it's worth. It doesn't run. Somebody put a second carburetor on it with a slide on top, and it's not running right. I'm going to talk him out of that one day when he's not paying attention. But for the most part, it's been a good bike. Not cracked up about the headlights. I put some LEDs in there, but, we're going to change some things on that too. So anyway, I'm going to let you guys get and close this video up. I hope you got a little bit of something from that. I like doing crazy modifications or re-engineering things at times. This place is a mess, but we build some crazy junk sometimes, and you never know. There's always a better way to skin a cat, and resolving that locking issue without beating ourselves to death is a good deal. And these, I can't believe how many parts are available just, online and stuff for these bikes. I mean, Macy Ferguson made a ton of these things, and the Arctic Cat picked it up, and they're around. I know 4 or 5 of them here within a couple of miles of me, and I've got money in the bank just waiting for somebody to throw one of them out. It's gonna be mine. Definitely need a second battery in these things, though. With this 4,500 pound winch, second battery would be the deal. I mean, I don't know if you guys have seen the elk video, pulling an elk up with this bad boy, but wow, talk about hard on an electrical system. So anyhow, let you go, and we'll share the next couple experiences that we have as we go. And I think you're going to be entertained at the suppression system I put on this thing for the exhaust system. I know these things are quiet already. I want it quieter yet. We do a lot of stuff. We move a lot of apples around in the summer and fall for our game cameras and stuff. You can't be ripping through the woods and stuff, and public land, you can't be giving up your position, for one, and second of all is you don't want to be scaring animals off. I mean, even as quiet as this thing is, I've come right up on them in the brush, and I want to make it to where it almost sounds electric. That's going to be interesting. I want the intake louder than the exhaust. All right, I'll let you go. See you on the next video and have something else crazy to play with.